We're continuing our conversation here with Golf Week's senior writer Bethan Nichols and Sirius XM Radio's Taylor Zarzour. Bethan, we've seen some interesting storylines in the last couple of weekends. We've seen a 16-year-old make a cut on the PGA Tour. We saw a 15-year-old do it earlier on the Corn Ferry Tour. You've seen this a lot on the LPGA Tour over the years, where extremely young talent seems ready to compete at the highest level and is probably easily convinced that they're ready to compete at the highest level. But are there best practices out there that you've seen in the women's game that we ought to be keeping in mind just to stop these kids getting, I guess, out over their skis too early in their careers?
Well, I definitely think there's a big difference between the men's and the women's game. First of all, in terms of depth, it's unlikely that you're going to see a surge of teenagers in the men's game, playing to that kind of level. From a physical standpoint, obviously boys mature at a slower rate in terms of their physical abilities compared to women, whereas as a 17, 18-year-old on the LPGA can compete pretty much against anyone from a physical standpoint. So I think, the LPGA has a commissioner's role. You have to be 18 to play on tour, but you can request to play it earlier, but you pretty much have to win a tournament in order to get on tour before the age of 18, which is a really high threshold to meet. And I think it's hard to tell a player like that, look, you've already won on the LPGA. I'm sorry, you've got to wait a year or 6 months to come out. I don't really think that helps anyone. So I definitely think the LPGA actually has a good rule in place here.
Taylor, what do you think? I mean, as the father of three 12-year-olds, I can tell you that boys mature much slower physically and mentally, if at all, compared to women. You comfortable seeing these teenagers out there with the best players in the world?
If a Scotty Scheffler or a or a Jordan Spieth or somebody plays in a one-off, Tiger Woods from time to time, we saw him playing as a teenager, then I think that's okay. I don't like to see them playing every single week. Akshay Bhatia maybe is an exception to the rule that seems to have handled going through every single phase of professional golf in the last 5 years to get to the highest level of men's golf, where he's here with us now in Charlotte this week. But he had to go through every single level. He didn't get to the big time and stay in the prime time of the game right from the word go, like Alexi Thompson or Lydia Ko or some of the others that we referenced earlier. It just feels like more often than not, those players get burned out and they wish that they would have gone through all the normal phases of their life. So I think it's fine to see them play a couple of times a year, the best teenagers, but on a regular basis, I think there's some danger that comes with that.
Taylor, big week at Quail, I would imagine, with Wells Fargo on the way out, some potential sponsors paying close attention. Do you have that sense that this is an important week and sports week in the city of Charlotte, and how important what happens inside the ropes could be for the future of this event?
Yeah, everybody that's ever come to this town knows just how golf crazed we are in the Queen City. This is a very big deal. What Johnny Harris and the members at Quail Hollow have established is one of the premier tournaments on the PGA Tour. We have the PGA Championship coming back here next year, but your question is a good one. 2 years from now, what, if anything, does the tournament look like? Will it be a signature event? Will it have a new sponsor? Will we still have the best players in the world coming here? Will we have more of the best players in the world coming 2 years from now if unification happens? It's a very big week for the tournament, and it's a very big week for the PGA Tour. Eamon mentioned earlier that Scotty Scheffler isn't here. Everyone's impressed with what Scotty Scheffler's doing, but maybe that means we'll have some drama with some of the other big-name players over the weekend that have a chance to win this. We certainly need it.
Bethan, speaking of big-name players, Brooks Koepka won again at the weekend on the Live Tour in Singapore. He's defending the PGA next week. Over the weekend, Phil Mickelson tweeted and then deleted a vague threat that at some point Live players might boycott majors if a direct pathway is not actually created for them, and that none of these guys would show up. Can you ever envisage a time when a John Rahm or a Brooks Koepka will choose to boycott a major championship because a Taylor Gooch or a Joaquin Niemann is not getting a start in the field?
No, not at all. I think that's a bunch of bluster. I don't anticipate something like that happen. I mean, look, the majors are what define greatness. That's the ultimate legacy for any player, male or female. It all comes down to the majors. And so I don't see players bypassing a chance to tee it up in even one because of that. Look at how many are going to U.S. Open qualifying. They're doing what they need to do to get there.
Taylor, listen, when a lot of guys left for LIV, they talked about growing the game and making it global. Listen, they took the bag, okay? It's pretty obvious to a lot of us. But your thoughts on what Brooks Koepka has been able to do, stay major championship sharp and winning 4 times out there?
Yeah, with Joaquin Niemann or Taylor Gooch or other players that have had success on LIV, I don't know that that necessarily translates to success in major championships. But you're right, Damon. Koepka seems to be an exception to the rule. It seems like when he finds a little bit of form, like he did before last year's Masters on LIV, it did translate into an almost winning the Masters last year, and then obviously winning the PGA Championship. I don't keep up with the odds as much as some others do, but I think I saw over the weekend, guys, that he's 20-1 going into the PGA Championship. How on earth could he be 20-1? If you're listing the people that could have the best chance to win next week at Valhalla, you've got to think Scheffler, and then maybe after that, I think you would think Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy and Ludwig Oberg and Wyndham Clark and some others. But I fully expect him to have a chance to win a 4th PGA Championship next week. I'd be surprised if he isn't in the mix, given what he just showed us in Singapore.
Right with you. He went from 20-1, now 16-1 ahead of the second major of the year. Beth Ann, Taylor, we always appreciate it. Have a great Monday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.